What's up, Broncos country? That feeling when something that should be working just doesn't work? Well, that's exactly the situation we're living with, one of our most anticipated reinforcements of the season. Evan Engram finally broke his silence about what's happening behind the scenes with our offense. And man, what he revealed will make you understand why our offense hasn't taken off the way we all expected to. Tuned, because what you're about to hear will explain a lot about the first games of the season and also about what's coming. Spoiler, big changes are coming as early as next Monday. Look, Denver Broncos family, ever since Sean Payton arrived here in Mile High, everyone knew he was looking for that special piece, the so-called joker for our offense. That guy who can make the difference in any situation, who can create plays out of nothing and open up space for everyone. When free agency came around and brought Evan Engram to our family, it was obvious to anyone who bleeds orange and blue. It was him. It was the 31-year-old veteran tight end who was going to be that secret weapon our offense needed. But here's the thing, Broncos country, things didn't turn out exactly as planned, did they? And now Engram finally opened up about what's really happening. First, let's talk cold, hard numbers. Engram missed practically 2 games due to injuries. 2? Right at the beginning of the season when our offensive chemistry was being built. That's no small thing when you're trying to fit a veteran into a completely new system. And look, I'll be straight with you. This absence hurt our offense in a way that many people still haven't fully realized. Bo Nix, our second-year quarterback, has specifically struggled with those intermediate passes. Those 10, 15-yard plays that are the bread and butter of any NFL offense. Well, without Engram on the field, that part of the game became much harder. Last week, against the Chargers, that painful last-minute loss that still hurts everyone's chest here, Engram couldn't even play. But now, believe it or not, he's listed as fully cleared on the Week 4 injury report. That means one thing, our secret weapon is back. And that's when Engram finally decided to talk. And man, what he said was revealing. It's a day-to-day thing, honestly. Day-to-day, and just the work being put in every day, really learning the offense, learning the specific details. Getting on the same page with Bo, learning Sean's details. Man, it definitely takes patience, Engram said this week. Patience. That word stings a little when you're expecting results, doesn't it? Broncos country? But keep listening because it gets better. It definitely takes time to build something great. But we have an incredible team, a bunch of brilliant minds here, and we're working really hard. I'm just excited to get in there and do it, make my mark as much as I can. Now that's the kind of mentality we want to hear. Engram isn't making excuses. He's acknowledging that there's a process, that it takes time to build the necessary chemistry between a veteran tight end, a young quarterback, and a complex offensive system like Sean Payton's. But let's be realistic here, family. Everyone getting on the same page would be a huge benefit for Bo Nix, who has faced some heavy criticism in these first few weeks. And look, I'll say something that might not be popular, but needs to be said. If we don't resolve this situation quickly, we run the real risk of seeing a much bigger storm forming. The mission now is clear. Extinguish any spark before it becomes an uncontrolled fire. Because nobody wants to see our young quarterback going into a negative spiral in his second year. The mid-range passes continue to be stuck for Nix. That's a fact. But, and here comes good news, our running game with J.K. Dobbins is starting to find consistency. And you know what that means, right? When the ground game works, the deep passes start to appear. It's football math. If Engram's health can now be trusted, and from the injury report it seems it can, then it's logical to think that his snaps and targets will increase significantly from here on out. And it's not just me saying this. Offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi made this clear at Friday's press conference. I don't know if there's anything that hasn't clicked yet, Lombardi said, about Engram. A bit like with the running backs, we have several tight ends that we like, and they all do different things well. So yes, we know what this guy's strengths are, and you know he's going to start breaking loose soon. 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 I like that part, Lombardi. But what do you think about this situation, Broncos country? Do you have the patience to wait for all this chemistry to develop, or do you think it should already be working? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm torn here. Actually, before continuing with the deeper analysis, if you're real Broncos country and want to stay on top of all the news, analysis, and behind the scenes of our team, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell. Because every week there's exclusive content about our orange and blue family. Now, back to the main subject. Unleashing Engram more completely as a dynamic receiving threat could happen faster than we imagine. And you know why? Monday night against the Bengals, that Monday Night Football that everyone will be watching, could be the perfect moment. Why? Marvin Mims Jr. appeared on the injury report as questionable. So if Mims can't play at full capacity, other receivers will have to take on a bigger load. And guess who's perfectly positioned to fill that gap? Exactly, Evan Engram. And look, I'll say something that might sound harsh, but it's reality. The Broncos didn't pay considerable money for Engram to sit on the bench or play a secondary role in this offense. It's time for the rubber to meet the road, as they say. Do you remember when Sean Payton was looking for that joker? That versatile piece that can line up anywhere, create matchup problems for opposing defenses, and give multiple options to the quarterback? Engram was hired exactly for that. The problem is that football, especially in the NFL, is a game of timing. It's not just about having talent. You need to be on the same frequency as your teammates. When the quarterback releases the ball, the receiver needs to be exactly where he should be. When the tight end runs the route, the timing with the QB needs to be perfect, and building that timing takes time, especially when you have injuries disrupting the process. But here's the interesting thing. Engram isn't complaining, isn't blaming others, isn't creating drama. He's taking responsibility, talking about patience and hard work. That, to me, shows the right mentality. Just the work being put in every day, really learning the offense, he said. Man, that's music to any coach's ears. There's no shortcut to success in the NFL. Either you do your homework or you fall behind. And most importantly, we're working really hard. We're working. That shows it's a collective effort, that the entire offense is committed to making this thing work. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Bo Nix, our second-year quarterback, has faced some criticism. And I'll be fair, some is deserved, others not so much. But one thing that can't be denied is that he needs reliable weapons around him. When you're a young quarterback, especially in your second year, you need safe options. You need guys who will be where they should be, when they should be. Having Engram healthy and integrated into the system could be exactly what Nix needs to take the next step. Those intermediate passes that have been problematic, Engram specializes in that. Those 12-yard passes over the middle of the field, those comeback routes, those flat passes that can turn into big gains, that's his specialty. And look how interesting this is. As our running game with Dobbins improves, that will open up even more opportunities for Engram. When defenses have to respect our run, they become vulnerable in the middle of the field. That's exactly where an experienced tight end like Engram can wreak havoc. Monday night against Cincinnati could be the perfect moment to see this combination finally work. The Bengals have a defense that can be exploited by experienced tight ends, especially if they're focusing on stopping our run, and with Marvin Mims Jr. possibly limited, Engram could see a significant increase in targets. This could be exactly the opportunity he was waiting for to show why he was hired. Just imagine. Monday Night Football. Prime time, all of Broncos country watching, and Engram finally exploding in Sean Payton's system. It would be the kind of performance that could change the entire narrative of our season. But let's be realistic about the pressure at stake here. When you're a 31-year-old veteran hired to be a key piece, expectations are high. There's not much time to learn on the job. You need to produce. Engram knows this. Sean Payton knows this. Joe Lombardi knows this. And all of Broncos country knows this too. It definitely takes time to build something great, Engram said. But the question is, how much more time? Because every week that passes without this offense functioning completely is a week that could cost us dearly in the standings. The AFC West isn't playing around this year. The Chiefs continue to be the Chiefs. The Chargers are improving. The Raiders, well, the Raiders are the Raiders, but they're still divisional games. Every win counts, and we can't afford to wait much longer for our offense to reach its Maximum potential, if we look at what Joe Lombardi said, they all do different things well. It's clear that the coaching staff has a specific plan for Engram. They didn't bring him here to be just another tight end. They brought him here to be that tight end, the joker that Sean Payton was looking for, the versatile piece that can line up as a receiver, as a traditional tight end, or even in the backfield if necessary. This versatility is what can make our offense unpredictable and difficult to defend. But versatility without execution is worthless, and execution without timing doesn't work. That's why this patience that Engram is talking about is so important, but also why we can't wait forever. One thing that impressed me about Engram's statement was the mentality. Make my mark as much as I can. That's not talk from someone who's settling for a small role. That's talk from someone who wants to be a protagonist. And look, that's exactly the mentality we need. We don't want guys who are satisfied being supporting actors. We want warriors who want to make their mark, who want to make a difference when the game is on the line. With Engram returning to full form, this will also positively impact our other receivers. When you have a tight end who's a real threat in the middle of the field, that opens up space for the outside receivers. Defenses can't focus only on the sides, they have to respect the middle, too. Courtland Sutton, for example, can benefit enormously from this. With the defense's attention divided, he can find more space to run his trademark routes. And if Mims returns healthy, imagine the possibilities with Engram occupying linebackers and safeties in the middle, leaving Mims free for his quick routes. And we can't forget Sean Payton in this whole equation. The guy is an offensive genius, but offensive geniuses need the right tools to work with. Engram could be exactly the tool that was missing for Payton to completely implement his offensive vision. Remember, Payton has worked with elite tight ends before. He knows how to use this position to create advantages. Jimmy Graham, in his golden era with the Saints, Payton was the one who transformed him into a lethal weapon. Now imagine what he can do with an experienced guy like Engram. Let's look at the math here. Broncos country. If our running game is improving with Dobbins, if our outside receivers have talent, if we have a young quarterback with potential, and if we now add a veteran tight end functioning in the system, the sum of all this could be something special. I'm not talking about playoffs. It's still early for that. But I'm talking about an offense that can be respected, that can score points consistently, that can give exciting games to our fans. Based on what Lombardi said, he's going to start breaking loose soon. Soon, it seems we're about to see a more integrated version of Engram in our offense. And honestly, it couldn't come at a better time. With the season still young, we still have time to get these connections right, to perfect these timings, to transform potential into real production. But we need to see this happen soon. The fans' patience isn't infinite, and the competition in our division won't wait. What are you expecting to see on Monday against the Bengals? Do you think Engram will finally have the breakthrough game we're waiting for? Or do you think it will still take a few more weeks to see his real impact on our offense? I'll tell a hard truth here. If Engram can't become the weapon we expected, our offense could be limited. It's not pressure, it's reality. Elite tight ends make a huge difference in the modern NFL, and we need Engram to be that guy. But based on what he said, the mentality he demonstrated, and the fact that he's finally healthy, I have a good feeling about what's to come. Monday Night Football, against a Cincinnati that could be vulnerable to our new offensive combination. If there's a moment for Engram to start showing his real value, this is it. And look, I'm not talking about 15 receptions and 200 yards. That would be unrealistic. But I'm talking about 5-6 solid receptions, some important first downs, maybe a touchdown, showing that he can be reliable when Bo Nix needs him, and this connection between Bo and Engram could be special if it works out. Young quarterbacks love having a veteran tight end as a safety valve. When pressure comes, when outside receivers are covered, having an experienced guy like Engram in the middle of the field could be the difference between a sack and a third down conversion. Look, Broncos country, I'll be honest with you, I'm still optimistic about this whole situation. Engram breaking his silence and talking about patience, hard work, and building something great gives me hope that we're on the right track. Injuries delayed the process. That's a fact. But it's also a fact that now he's healthy, integrated, and ready to show why he was hired. Monday could be the beginning of something special for our offense, and if it is, you can be sure we'll be here to analyze every play, every reception, every moment Engram shows he's worth the investment we made in him. So, tell me, are you ready to see our offense finally take off? Because I am, and Monday night could be exactly the moment we were waiting for. What do you think about this whole Engram situation, Denver Broncos family? Do you agree that it's a matter of time before he explodes in Sean Payton's system, or do you think the expectations were too high from the beginning? Leave your opinions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this complete analysis, don't forget to hit that like button, share with your Broncos country friends, and subscribe so you don't miss any analysis, news, or behind-the-scenes content about our team. On Monday, we'll all be watching to see if Engram will finally show why he was hired. And you can be sure that on Tuesday, I'll be back here with a complete analysis of everything that happened on Monday Night Football. Until then, Broncos country, keep believing, keep supporting, and let's all root for our offense to finally reach its full potential. Cheers, and see you in the next video.